Now, the reason why I'm excited about blockchain and AI is because blockchain and AI go together like peanut butter and jelly, where blockchain is the structure, AI is the jelly. And so what do I mean by that? You have a way of structuring your data, and now with AI, you're able to gain better insights from that data. And when you put those things together, you're really unlocking the true power of AI and the true power of blockchain.
My name's Sabrina Ramanov. Super excited to be speaking with Dr. Jamar Montgomery, and we're going to be talking about blockchain and AI, as well as legal and aviation uses in AI. So, really excited to have you here. Would love to learn a little bit about your background.
I'm excited to be here. My background ranges from law to engineering to politics to aviation to AI. And so now being able to utilize AI and blockchain in the different legal fields as well as in aviation is something I'm excited about talking about today.
Yeah, awesome. So let's dive in. So for a lot of our audience, I primarily talk about AI education. I don't talk that much about blockchain. So could you just give a super beginner friendly explanation of what blockchain is, why it matters, and how it's intersecting with AI?
Absolutely. So blockchain is, as we call it, distributed ledger technology. So think about a open Google Doc. Think of like an open Google Sheet that is constantly updated, and everybody who has access to the sheet is able to see what updates are made, and you being on the sheet gives you access to actually make updates to the sheet as well. So it is the way in which we are handling data and now being able to have greater ownership over our data. In addition, we are seeing that we've gone from a model of companies holding on to people's data to now you as an individual in Web3 having more ownership and control over your data. And now companies are competing on who can best process your data. So blockchain is definitely the future, and it is the underlying technology for cryptocurrencies and crypto economics. Now, the reason why I'm excited about blockchain and AI is because blockchain and AI go together like peanut butter and jelly, where blockchain is the structure, AI is the jelly. And so what do I mean by that? You have a way of structuring your data, and now with AI, you're able to gain better insights from that data. And when you put those things together, you're really unlocking the true power of AI and the true power of blockchain. AI allows us to make sense of the data that we have on the blockchain. And blockchain allows us to have attribution to where our data originates from in our models for AI. So that's why I say that they go together like peanut butter and jelly. Blockchain is the peanut butter to AI's jelly.
Can you share some real world practical examples where you're seeing the intersection of AI and blockchain deliver value to either businesses or solopreneurs? Like, how is it being used today in the real world?
Well, currently, one of the ways in which they're utilizing the integration of blockchain and AI is the attribution of data. So if you know where the model is actually going to get the information to create its inferences, that allows for you as a model creator or even as somebody that is building a company off of a chat GPT wrapper, it allows you to identify, oh, this is faulty data and this is faulty information. Let me change up the information that's here. That was one of the real world use cases, as I said from my example, of how blockchain and AI are being integrated. In addition, on a even more practical sense, is companies like Chainalysis and TRM Labs are utilizing AI to be able to go through and evaluate the entire chain and identify who is utilizing crypto for terrorist financing. So that's another way in which AI is being integrated. So there's the use of AI to do the analysis part, and then there's the use of blockchain to give attribution to where your actual data is coming from.
The attribution one is definitely interesting in terms of ethical sourcing, for example, being able to pay creators for using their data. Do you know of any big foundational model companies that are doing that?
Not mainstream yet, but I will say that one of the platforms that are real heavy on the integration of blockchain and AI is Hedera.
And so you mentioned your background is also in legal and aviation.
Well, one of the ways in which AI is being utilized in the legal field is particularly for case management, as well as for those people that are trying to utilize, that they're trying to streamline and automate their practices. That's one way in which I've been seeing that. Another way in which I've been seeing the use of AI in the aviation industry is the validation of flight systems and flight simulation. How do you test a program? How do you debug your programs? How do you debug the actual software that you're utilizing for your flight control systems as well for your autopilot systems? One of the things that I noticed when I was at the World Economic Forum last week was that a lot of the companies now, they're able to breathe now that they're seeing all the different challenges that they're having with the implementation of AI. So everybody thought that AI was going to be this killer app, and it is, but there are a lot of new challenges that you didn't have to think of when you were integrating AI. What do I mean? Well, if I'm going to utilize an open source model or a model that is generative AI platform like ChatGPT or Claude or even Llama, right? Anything that is generative AI, well, anything that I put into it now becomes part of the model and is continuously being trained on the information that I give it. Some of that information that I give might be proprietary. And in fact, we saw that with Samsung, some of the engineers put the code inside of ChatGPT to do some debugging. And now that code now becomes part of the model. So what was originally a trade secret and a competitive advantage is now part of a particular model. So the main consensus is that many of these companies are having to create their own private instances of ChatGPT. Like Boeing has their own private instance of ChatGPT that is.
Is that in collaboration with ChatGPT, or they just took an open source model and fine-tuned it for
No,
their
that's in
purpose?
it's in collaboration with OpenAI. But being able to have a private instance that doesn't that the information that gets put in there stays within the enterprise versus it becoming part of the greater ChatGPT model, foundational model that they have.
Yeah, because even when you subscribe for the Pro or Plus plan, the $20 per month plan, there is a setting in there so that your data is not used for model training.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's that's one of the things that you're seeing is when you start dealing with the privacy concerns as well as you have the privacy concerns, but then the privacy concerns go into not just personally identifiable data, but now potentially classified data, restricted data, trade secrets, right? All those kinds of things all that kind of data that you didn't realize was as important to protect, or you knew to protect it, but you didn't realize the vulnerability that was created by implementing something like ChatGPT in an unprotected way.
Gotcha. Like everybody was really excited in the beginning and used it for everything. And now we're taking a step back and realizing, hey, where's our data going? Should we be sending this data to over to ChatGPT or whatever provider? Okay. So that's pretty interesting. Anything else that really piqued your interest when you were at the forum?
Well, last year it was 50% blockchain, 50% AI. The year before it was heavy blockchain. So 2023 was blockchain heavy. 3 was blockchain and AI. 2024 was more AI than anything. And then now this particular year, 2025, has been a focus on AI and quantum.
So it's super up to date on the developments in that field. Can you just summarize real quick and why we should pay attention to it?
Well, quantum allows for greater optimization. Your computers are able to operate in a way that linear computing systems are not. And so that provides great advantage when it comes to computation, when it comes to processing, when it comes to analysis. Particularly, the reason why quantum is of particular concern is because the capabilities of quantum to crack encryption. So where you have the SHA-256 algorithm, the AES algorithm, all these elliptical curve algorithms that follow a predictable path are now able to be cracked much faster, much easier with a quantum computing system. And so it presents some new national security concerns and some security concerns for companies as well. This year, like I said, has been a major focus on the implementation and adaptations of AIs, particularly in enterprises, and how we can make the world a better place utilizing AI, and also the real shortcomings that AI has in being overhyped in some sense, but we're just not familiar with how to utilize the technology yet.
And speaking of overhyped, have you guys been dabbling with AI agents yet?
Yes, absolutely. You know, what's interesting about AI agents is I was with the Atlanta Blockchain Center when they launched their first AI agent that launched her own token. So the AI agent launched its own token and the token got bonded. And so now is sitting on a larger exchange as a result.
What? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So seeing the things that they've done, then now in myself, now experimenting with AI agents on it, it really makes you look back and focus on what do I do on a daily day basis and how can I automate those particular tasks or what are the things that I do on a day-to-day basis and now being able to hand that task off to an AI agent. One example that I can think of is legal research. And for every lawyer, every person that has a law degree, we know that doing legal research is one of the major challenges of the profession. Early on, there was the problem of AI giving you false court cases and citing cases that weren't even there. Now that AI has the ability to search the internet, like with Gemini and now ChatGPT being able to actually search the internet, you're able to go and do legal research easier. One example is finding search terms. So when you do legal research, you'll find yourself saying, okay, well, what's another word for, let's say, a police officer?
So you're like brainstorming all these variations of
You're
keywords through
brainstorming
search.
all these different variations. Why? Because you might find case law that is more on point to what you're trying to look for. But the problem is they didn't utilize police officer. They may have used constable. They might have used law enforcement. Right. So being able to have those particular search terms and ChatGPT helping you identify what those search terms are. Now, when you go and do your legal research, you're armed with better search terms so that you can find cases that are more on point to whatever instance that you have.
Yeah, it's a really interesting example. I just made a video yesterday sharing demo of a ChatGPT operator agent built by Box.com. So the CEO of Box, Aaron Levy, shared this video, and it's basically an agent built with operator that performs due diligence research. So within Box, it creates your due diligence room with different folders. For each folder, it goes out and searches the web. Of course, it can't access like paywalled things or things that require custom logins, but for the things that are publicly accessible, it reads it, digests it, takes notes, puts those notes in Box in the appropriate due diligence folder. And it was a really interesting demo with, ChatGPT operator. It's interesting to hear that, research is a really big pain point, for example, for law and legal research. And do you think AI agents are at a point today where they can help automate some of that? And how trustworthy do you feel about that? Like, would you still want to have a lot of human oversight and Q&A in that process?
You have to treat AI like an employee and better if you treat it like a 16-year-old employee. Smart enough to do the job, but don't have enough experience to understand the best way to do their job. So if you treat AI like an employee, that means, hey, go do this, bring it back to me. Let me look over it. And some people are like, well, why would I even have to do that? Well, think about it. If you had to go out and go do that task yourself, that stops you from doing a particular thing. And I think for us, it's easy to forget that, you know what? If I normally would do this, if I normally had to do this, I would have to find the case, one, put in the right search terms, figure out the search terms, read the case, and in that case, I might find out some new search terms that I might want to use, understand, digest the case, come up with a memo, come up with some different points and pieces of the case, and then continue my research. Versus now utilizing AI saying, hey, I found this case. What are some search terms that I can gather for this particular situation? And then can you find me more cases that deal with it?
I like the way you framed it where it's like if you already have expertise because you've been doing the thing for many years throughout your career, and you can break it down to discrete steps, basically like an SOP. So if you were hiring someone new and you gave them a step-by-step SOP to follow, then that is what you could potentially feed into AI. So I think it's a more practical way of looking at it rather than like it can do everything, which is currently how it's being pitched and sold. But the way I tend to think of it is more like how you're describing it. Look at something you're currently doing that is super tedious. You know it inside out, and there's like a lot of little steps here and there, but you can document it in an SOP. Overall, what is your advice for other companies out there that are experimenting with AI, with ChatGPT, with agents. It's a lot, especially agents now. It's a lot of FOMO, I think, being created. Like now you're missing out on agents and everything. Like, what is your advice for other companies out there that are looking to implement with stuff, go from POC to production? Like, what is your kind of advice and frameworks for that?
Experiment with every day. And what do I mean by experiment with every day? Take an hour out of your day each day and really think about what it is that you do. And then I love it. See if there's an AI for that, right? See if there's an AI for that. What I have found that utilizing AI is that it has forced me to be more curious and it has forced me to be a better communicator. What do I mean by that? And sometimes in just trying to create the right prompt to get what you need, you're actually going through the brainstorming process of identifying what it is that you need. Okay, well, you might oh, well, what do I need ChatGPT for? The more high quality prompts that you use, the better output that you will receive as a result. So now, as somebody that is trying to go from proof of concept to actual production, is saying, well, you don't build an app. Can you build an app in an hour? Absolutely, you can. You can build an app in an hour. But going through the thinking of what do I want my app to do is a much more challenging process. But you know what? I can ask ChatGPT, I want to develop an app. What are the steps that are required to develop an app utilizing AI? I'm asking the AI on how to utilize itself. And I think that right there is the transformational part, because we have never really received devices that we were able to ask it on how to best use it. We've always usually had to go to power users and people like that in order to figure out how to utilize the apps. And this is the first time that we have a device or have a system or a product that we're actually able to ask it questions on how to best use it. And so now, for whatever idea that you're thinking about is, hey, go to ChatGPT, start asking questions, whether it's for research, whether it's for production of something. Now, does that mean that you trust its answers? No, not necessarily, but it at least will give you a starting point or a framework that you can now use in your everyday life. I've seen people, they have the God prompts. What are some of the things? Take all the information that us need, right? And what are some of my internal blocks? Take this conversation. I'm in the blue. This person's in the white. Was I the one that's tripping? Am I the problem? Am I the
I
drama?
love using it for that. Yeah.
Right? Am I the drama? So really being curious with the technology and utilizing the technology on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, you're 9 to 5, you're scrolling LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever it is, you're consuming the information passively from AI educators like myself, but it's a whole different experience to get your hands on the stuff, playing with it. I would love for everyone to get to that light bulb moment of realizing, oh, I can just ask ChatGPT how to use ChatGPT. But it's funny, I have like a ChatGPT for beginners course. It's completely free, but the entire goal of the course is to get you just self-sufficient using ChatGPT. So you don't need me to tell you how to use ChatGPT. The point is that you realize that you can just ask ChatGPT any questions that you have, any new features that come out, like anything in the news, you could ask it for an opinion on that. I love the way that you frame that and emphasis on like practical, consistent hands-on usage. It goes so far. I mean, it's so much better than just like consuming content passively for an hour. I notice people kind of get anxious after that because they feel like they're missing out. You hear about all these new things, but you're not trying them. So you feel like you're missing out, that you could spend that same amount of time following a YouTube tutorial. For example, like maybe it's to build your first simple agent. Follow a YouTube tutorial for an hour, see how far you get. I think that would be really awesome, really insightful exercise for most folks.
And for all the people that you hear talking about AI, I can guarantee you that only 3 out of 10 of them are actually using it on a daily basis. And I think that right there is the shift, because I've seen your content with what you've been doing with Blotato. Like, I'm using this on a daily basis and I'm building on a daily basis. People will look at your progress and think that it just happened overnight. You've been at this, what, about a year?
For Blotato, so I officially launched it 3 months ago.
I've been following you for a little while. So it's like, to see what you've done with Blotato and you're building in real time. And it would seem like, well, how in the heck did she get all this? Look, she's showing you the entire roadmap of what it looks like when you use this on a daily basis and stay curious.
I mean, even the very first version, the MVP, I built it entirely with AI, and I filmed myself because I knew no one would believe me otherwise. Of course, an AI influencer is gonna claim that. So I filmed it on YouTube, so you can, like, literally watch the progress of the very first version, and it was a crappy first version, but that's the process. Like, that's the work if you're trying to build a startup. So, yeah, I know our time is up, so any last words for the audience?
The only technology you have is the technology that you use. We can talk about AI and how everybody is going to get ahead because of AI. The future lies in the people who are the best communicators. And that means communicating with other people and also communicating with your technology. If you're not communicating with people and communicating with technology, you're going to be left behind and you're going to be a dinosaur.
All right, thanks so much for joining me.